has the opportunity that we are able to perform with Juliana in the Chomeng Reborn that was started back by our club, our distinguished Toastmaster Alan Setiawan during that time. And we are fortunate to have share some stage time together with Juliana. Now, fellow Toastmaster and friends, let's give a big hand, applause, and let's invite our speaker, Juliana, to the stage with lots of love. Lots of love, Juliana Heng. The stage is yours, Juliana.
Thank you so much, Tom, for such a kind introduction. I really appreciate all of you for making time for my session. So I would love to share my screen. All right. Okay, can you all see and hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's awesome. So now let's get this started. So Lots of Love is about my journey. Okay, whatever I've collected in the past 7 years of my comedy journey. It's just a very tight 40 minutes, not really 40 minutes presentation, more like a 20 minutes presentation of what I've learned in my past 7 years. And I would love to also help you all if you would like to kickstart your journey in stand-up comedy. Right. So this is the agenda where I will do a short stand-up comedy set of 5 minutes. And after that, a short and sweet presentation of 15 minutes. And finally, I will open up for cozy question and answer session with all of you here. So are you all ready for lots of laugh?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So hi everyone. I'm Juliana Heng from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. If you have not been to Kuala Lumpur before, you didn't miss much. We are just the less congested version of Jakarta. So I have autism. So you're literally watching a comedy special. I know I sound like an AI robot. Don't worry. I make good money voicing your Waze and Google Maps. In 200 meters, get lost. When I was 5 years old, I have not started speaking. My mom brought me to see a doctor. The doctor said, Mrs. Heng, your daughter is just like a proton car. The power window to her brain does not work. If you're wondering what a proton car is, it is Malaysia's national car that we are still learning to be proud of. It's been 30 years. The power window still doesn't work. We purposely made it that way so that Singaporeans won't blame it. By the way, this joke kills in Singapore. Because of my power window problem, I'm a bit slow. When you all listen to jokes, you will laugh immediately. I will laugh a bit later, tomorrow. If you aren't laughing right now, don't worry. You are just like me. So recently, during the pandemic, I went to get a diagnosis as an adult. So when I meet the doctor cannot believe I have autism because I look fabulous. So she asked me for proof, which is my comedy video on TikTok. After watching the video, she said, Juliana, you are super autistic. You're so autistic, you are off the spectrum. If autism is a song, you would have gotten a Grammys. So nowadays, when I'm doing comedy, I'm always on the lookout for my doctor because I want her to diagnose all the Toastmasters you see tonight. This one is autistic. This one is ADHD. This one is annoying. I will leave you all to decide who is the most annoying for tonight. the truth is, all of us here are on the autism spectrum. The only difference between my autism and yours is, your autism is like a YouTube singer. It's undiscovered. When I told this joke in Singapore, one person booed me. The person turns out to be a YouTube singer. But he should thank me because that's how he got discovered. So the thing is, there is a lot of misconception about autism. So people once told me, Juliana, you don't look autistic. I was like, wow, what a coincidence. You don't look like a boss. People also tell me, Juliana, you have autism, you don't have friends. That's not true. I have many friends. They all come to my house every day. They work at GrabFood, Lazada, Foodpanda. So people also say, Juliana, you have autism, you cannot drive. That's not true. I am a very safe driver. My maximum speed limit is only 80 kilometers per hour on the oncoming lane. The reason I drive like this is not because I have autism. It's because I'm a woman. All right, okay, ladies, please, please, please do not kill me. Yes, I'm adorable. So the thing is, I used to drive Grab. So Grab sent a message to my passengers informing them that I'm disabled. But they did not state what kind of disability I have. Because of that, every time I drive up to the passengers, they will cancel the ride when they see me in sunglasses. If you aren't laughing right now, don't worry. You will laugh tomorrow. Thank you so much. I'm Juliana Heng. Did you all enjoy yourself? Yay! All right.
Yay!
Okay, cool. Now let's move on to 5 easy tips to get you started in your stand-up comedy journey. So who here thinks they are funny? Don't be shy. All right. Okay. So who here thinks they are not funny? Okay, I think there's a majority of us who actually thinks that we are not funny. That's actually the majority among the comedians I know as well. So most of them are pretty serious. So the thing is, regardless of which one you identify, you should try out stand-up comedy anyway. Because if you think you are funny, it's a time to validate. Like let the audience decide whether you are really funny or not. Even if you are not, you can still work towards it. And if you don't think you're funny, you're skeptical, you're like, nah, I'm not a funny person, it's equally fine. In fact, the people that I know most of them are pretty introverted and a lot of them are very serious outside of the stage. But when they go on stage, oh my goodness, like they are hilarious. So all the more, you should try. Then also, so here are some steps. Oh, it's echoing. Is everything okay? Yeah. So step 1, book a spot in a comedy open mic near you. So comedy open mic is a platform for anyone to try their hands at stand-up comedy. Young comedians to hone their performing skills and experienced comedians to try out their materials before a showcase tour. So you are getting a bit of everyone in the room. So there's no need to be like intimidated because the new ones will be like equally as nervous as you. And the seniors, they will be the one where they will inspire you to actually be better comedians. So it's going to be a fun mix where everyone learn from each other. And so the next step is that actually you contact the comedy club or show producer to get a spot. As a newbie, you'll be given 3 minutes to make the audience laugh. Even if you are intimidated, instead of procrastinating, start first. Then improve your materials and delivery along the way. Now, your next step is to prepare 3 minutes of original comedy materials. What is a joke? A joke is basically a setup and a punchline. And caution, never do internet jokes or use other comedian jokes. Yes, I know that singers, they can actually do cover songs, but for example, Elvina can do Adele, Juliana can do Chapel. Yes. So the reason is very simple because everyone is unique. Your materials have to come from your point of view. So even let's say I were to recite Dave Chappelle's jokes, it still doesn't work on me because I'm not a Black American person, with the struggles, with the challenges we face. Like we are very different people. So it's best that we find deep within ourselves what is truly funny and we share our unique point of view with the world. And the prohibited topics in Malaysia are race, religion, and royalty. So at all costs, do not include materials like this. Okay, to be frank, of course you can do, because some of the comedians, they feel that it's no fun if, let's say, we cannot talk about these things. Of course you can, but you have to be smart about it. Do not upload on social media, because social media, when things are brought out of context, that's when people get offended very easily because they are not in the same room when you perform the joke. So just be very mindful of this. Of course you can perform, but then make sure you know when and when not to upload. And then, all right, so this is, if you don't know like what techniques you can use for comedy to get you started, these are 3 favorite and also simple comedy writing techniques. So I always like to use exaggeration, where you stretch the truth further and further to some ridiculous extreme. Like my joke on tomorrow, when you listen to jokes, you will laugh immediately. I will laugh a bit later tomorrow. And wordplay, in any language, a word can have 2 very different meanings. The jokes or puns may not be directly obvious at the start, and it may take an audience a second or 2 to realize the joke. So this is also my favorite joke. My favorite drink is the screwdriver, because after 1 shot, I'm hammered. So it's actually a double meaning in this. Yeah, so it's really fun. And misdirection, this is also a very, very interesting technique, where you take your audience down a path where they expect to go somewhere obvious, but you end up changing directions they are not expecting. So one of my favorite joke and most famous misdirection joke is a joke by comedian Anthony Jeselnik. A Great Dane is a heartbreaking dog. Its life expectancy is only 8 years. With the right diet, I can make it 4. So it's really dark, but of course in your head you'll be thinking, yeah, with the right diet, that fella should live a longer life. But it's not. He brings you the opposite direction. So this is what I respect about good comedy writer. Also, a very good tip by Anthony Jeselnik is, I once listened to his podcast, he will mention like, okay, as a comedian, you want to tell the 3rd punchline. The first punchline is pretty obvious. That means everybody, even a layman, will be able to think of. The second one are usually, second punchline is usually what comedians, if they sit down a bit out of the obvious, then they will get to the second punchline. But to be a true pro, you need to go further, which is the 3rd punchline, whereby this is what even comedians may not think about. And this is where you truly get the comedians' admiration and respect, because even they are not, like, they are caught off guard. Yeah, so that is what I also learned from Anthony Jeselnik. And then, okay, so if you're figuring out what should you write, just don't overthink. Figure out like, okay, write about what intrigues you, what annoys you, or what just simply makes you laugh. And also jot your ideas down. Because our brain, as much as we like to think that it's a superpower machine, unfortunately, it doesn't. It happens to us a couple of times where we thought that, yeah, I have a very funny idea, didn't write it down. After that, how does the funny idea sound like? I cannot remember. So it's always good to actually like maybe jot down on a notepad. Your phone has a notepad, so make use of that. Or either some people that I know, some comedians, they find it hard to write. That's when they use an audio recorder, and that also helps them. I think the idea of using audio recorder is pretty cool because you can tell the joke as it sounds rather than just writing, because your tone can change. And the key thing is your ideas need not be funny. It can be just a general sketch of a concept. And your job is to find the funny by putting your own spin on it. And by default, all materials do not work until it's said on stage and gets a laugh. So don't edit yourself too much when you free write. Also, a lot of times when we write a joke, we think that it's gonna kill. It's so funny. It boom on stage. It happens as well, the other way around. So do not take this too seriously. Just bring the jokes up on stage and then give it a shot. I mean, it may or may not work, and then you will adjust from there. And also, writing is an awesome way of self-discovery. Have fun preparing your comedy materials. All right, so next step is to rehearse your comedy materials. It is essential for you to be familiar with your own materials so that you are able to articulate what you have written with your audience in a confident manner. A lot of times when we don't rehearse, we think that, yeah, we have it in our head. And the moment we go on stage, we blank out, or either we forget what we want to say or the exact way we want it to say. And that's when it will come out in bits and pieces, stuttering, or either anything that will actually hinder the delivery of the joke. And that's when the audience will lose you, or either the audience will I get the joke, but I can't enjoy it because the comedian is in too much of pain, remembering the material. So find your own process. When you can do it when you are doing your chores. You can even, okay, what am I doing here? Okay, go back. Yeah, when you're walking the dog, taking a shower, etc. So for myself, I actually rehearse while washing plates. Relax, no plates are harmed in the process of my rehearsal. And then now let's check out, okay, never rehearse word by word. This is because when you forget one word, you may not be able to proceed with the rest of your set. That means you will blank out and you'll panic and it will go downhill from there. So instead, create a set list with keywords. In open mics, you're allowed to bring this up on stage. So I actually have one myself, so I really shared this, what I usually do. And then, okay, step 4, it's showtime. Perform your materials on stage in front of a live audience. This is definitely a very exciting moment for any first-timer comedian. So be at the comedy club or event space early. This will allow you to settle before the show. The reason is because as a beginner comedian, you already have a baseline of nervousness. So you don't want to come in huffing and puffing, and then that makes you more stressed out. So relax, and then if there's a green room, you can check in a green room. And again, different people have very different process of dealing with stress. So I mean, pre-performing jitters. So for example, the extroverts, they need to chat up with someone. They need to talk through things. But the thing is, even if you need to talk through things, you need to be respectful and mindful of the other comedians who may not want to do so. Let's say they need to be in their world first, in their zone first, then we have to respect their process. Do not chat them up. So it's good to maybe find out hey, can I chat with you, just to de-stress, And if you meet someone who is the same wavelength as you, yeah, both of you can chat your nerves away. Then if you are the introvert, you need time to compose yourself. The first thing is to check into green room, find a spot for you to just to compose yourself, to rehearse your material mentally. So different comedians have very different process. So we just respect everyone in the room and get to know the comedians as they'll be part of your community. Need not be before the set. In Malaysia, usually we will have the mamak session, which is the post comedy show session, where they will also do debrief, sharing about each other's comedy set. And if you are not in a rush, need to go back to sleep early to prepare for work or anything, feel free to linger around, get to know other comedians, and also learn from them. And this is before the show. Attend the briefing session. The organizer will inform where you are in the lineup, what is the order of the comedians performing that night, the do's and don'ts of the show, and how they will signal your timing. Whether is it a bell or either it's just a light at the last 1 minute. And then never go over time. If every comedian do that, the audience no need to go home. And when the show starts, support your fellow comedians by listening, laughing, and learning from them. Because it's energy, sometimes in a room where there's only, unfortunately, as a comedian, sometimes we also perform to less than 5 people. and it's very demotivating for a comedian. But the thing is, when you have other comedians, and then mostly the comedians, there are like 10 of them, so you outnumbered the audience. And if you join the audience by becoming part of them, that's when everybody laugh together and you feel like motivated, rather than like, oh, the comedians are like, I want to focus on my own materials. I don't want to like listen to anyone, you know. So then that's when and also I believe I'm a huge believer of chi. So chi is a very important thing, whereby if everybody is like pulling their weight and wanting to make the show a great one, that's when the environment somehow will be, the atmosphere will somehow improve and everybody will start enjoying the show. But when there is like not very good energy, which is like everyone is starting to like frustrated, or either like, okay, internal issue like comic A don't like comic B, you know, all this will somehow be reflected in the atmosphere of the show, and it will not be enjoyable. And the audience are very sensitive beings. They will be able to understand, actually feel that, and they will reflect by either laughing or not. I actually had one experience in UK where I performed in Edinburgh. It's actually a very nice show. It's a very cozy show where the comedians are supporting each other. Unfortunately, before my turn, the showrunners are actually are arguing. The hosts are arguing with each other. I don't know what's the reason why they were arguing. And it's quite loud. And the thing is, and then after that, they were like, okay, once the comedian is done, they just bring me up. And of course, I mean, I'm someone on the spectrum, so I may not be able to pick up energy very quickly. So I just happily proceed with my set. I didn't do very well. I totally bombed. And of course, I have to have the drink to pacify myself after that. But the thing is, it affects the audience. The audience feel very uncomfortable. And also as a comedian myself, I also did not manage to pick up the energy and address them. You know, I could have made a joke like, oh, let's see, let's have a look. There's a like an infernal affair happening here. You know, I could have made a joke that time. But hindsight is 2020. So I also try to learn to be kind to myself. And okay, so when it's your turn, focus on enjoying yourself. Even if you forget what's next, be honest about it. Look at your set list and proceed with confidence. Stand-up comedy is actually a conversation between you and the audience. You tell the joke, the audience reply in laughter. So don't rush your materials. Take your time and enjoy their replies. Oftentimes, I see a lot of comedians rushing through their materials. It's like, okay, you know, I have 20 jokes. I need to do all 20 jokes. That's not true, because you have to also observe the pace of the audience. Like, how are they responding? If they are not laughing, obviously your time will be longer. But if they are laughing, like, why do you want to like stop them from laughing? Like by telling the next joke, you want to like encourage them to laugh. So let them laugh, enjoy themselves. Then the moment it's almost ending, that's when you start the new joke again. So I think this is what a lot of comedians don't know. They think that, not say don't know, may not be aware, which is they thought that it's a solo act. It's like a theater monologue. So monologue is like, okay, you know, like I'm just telling my jokes, and once I'm done, I'm out of here. But the truth is, you are actually having a conversation without realizing. So it's important to take note of that and just play along with it. Then, all right, so repeat. So if you love what you just experienced, then come back to the stage regularly. Fine-tune your materials, hone your delivery, and connect with the comedy community. The more stage time you have, the better you will be. So that's all, folks. Thank you so much. I wish you lots of love in your stand-up comedy journey. Feel free to tell me about your first comedy open mic experience. And also, let's connect on Instagram at mxjulianaheng. So, all right. So now is the question and answer session. Ask me anything.
So, fellow Toastmaster and friends, please to ask our speaker any question that you have in your mind. Anyone have any question?
So I have a question. I'm Preeti. I had a question that sometimes when you're giving impromptu talks, so at that times, how do you incorporate humor in those talks?
Impromptu talk. I think the first immediate step you can do for impromptu talks is That means whatever that happens before you, what you can do is you can incorporate, let's say there is like a funny observation or funny thing being said in the room, or either just the room itself. If you notice something strange, like some people notice like, okay, this decoration is very unique. It's like as though we are being transported back in the 80s or something like that. So even these little observations, when incorporated in impromptu like table topics that Toastmasters do, you can actually like incorporate, and people will be surprised. Wow, like you're really thinking on your feet. I mean, I did fun fact, I did Toastmasters before, like many years ago. There's this humorous speech contest where I talk about amusement park. Yeah. And somehow there are some weird tables in the room that time where they are arranged in a odd way. And I said, look here, there's a roller coaster. And the audience just like laughed immediately. Like I just used that as part of my prepared materials. So even for an impromptu speech, whatever happened before you, like even what the previous speaker speech, you can always utilize it in any situation. That's a good question, Preeti.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyone else from the floor?
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yeah, sure, Ankush.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, Elias, for inviting me in this session. It was a lovely session with you all and having that insights as well. Just a few queries that was in my mind. What if you are all prepared with your content and then you are delivering it on your stage, but the audience doesn't react as per your context and as per you think that they should be reacting, or they don't understand as the way you have articulated the content as well. So any quick tips that you can apply at the moment when you are planning, or maybe not surprising as well?
I would say this is also a very important question, because as comedians, we are constantly evaluating the room. Whether how fast your speed is or not, that's irrelevant, but you're always trying to do that. So when a joke didn't land, you're like, of course, in your first thing in your head, you're like, oh my goodness, like I thought that this joke should work. It works so fine in my. So some comedians are very genuine about it. They are so like frank about it. They just say, oh, I thought this joke is funny in my head. So when they did that, the audience just immediately laughed. So that's what they do. And some of them use moving on, like they just like, but of course they will have some facial expression that accompanies the disappointed like lack of response to their well-written written joke. So they were like moving on, like they will just do something like that. And some of them, what they do is they will maybe quickly, another way is, if let's say you realize that, okay, I don't have a counter for, or maybe anything that I can throw off from my head, what they will do is they have to quickly find a very good joke that works. Like sometimes in an open mic, what we do is we experiment new jokes, and new jokes, even for an experienced comedian, may fall flat. Yeah, so sometimes what we do is we rescue it by actually telling an old joke in our previous set that we know confidently 100% works. That's when we can get back the audience on our side. But the worst situation is all the three things you mentioned doesn't work. Whatever things that you try doesn't work. Another way some comedians do is they start talking with the audience. They start engaging, like, is everything okay here? Is it like too cold? They'll start talking, because that's when the room will feel that, you're aware of our existence. Because I think one of my early issues when I start doing comedy is I'm not very aware. That means I will just go there like a robot. I will just, let's do all my set, everything, and I will just walk off. But then the audience some of them will get a bit like confused, like, hey, I didn't laugh at that joke, but why does this person keep proceeding, like never even address the situation, never, just keep moving on. And sometimes even if your next three jokes are like doing well, the audience are so bothered by your behavior as a performer, they actually like, they can't move on. They will just think of that moment like, why is this person not addressing anything? So the worst situation for final last resort is just say thank you very much. Yeah, and just like cut your losses. Because sometimes we we may have loose connection with the audience, because comedy is all about connection at the end of the day. So sometimes like some comedians, what I notice is they want to, everybody wants to end on a high. So they want to end on a killer joke that just like everybody will laugh. But unfortunately, sometimes even your killer jokes may not land as well as you want. So what happened there is they ended up like, okay, let me try another new joke that may work. And the joke actually would be like 2 minutes over time. So they will just try to tell, and again, the big punchline didn't get a laugh. They will try another 5-minute joke. And that's when the audience will get very stressed out, because they were like, oh no, when this person is gonna stop, we already like lose interest in this person already. So the best thing is like, what I do is, okay, if my final closer joke didn't work, I'll throw in one more closer. If that closer still doesn't work, thank you very much, bye. So that's when I cut my loss and just move on. But that's a great question, Ankush.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Anyone else like to ask?
Me.
Go ahead.
Yay.
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. 2 questions. The first one is, how do you face when you got a blank mind? And the second one is, how to pick up the energy in the room when you perform. I understand that you're not spiritual. Look at my hair. It's like something like that. So
Okay. So the first one is when you go blank. It's like, of course, the first way is to like, okay, some comedians are very, very sharp. What they do is they will ask back the audience, like, where did I stop? Then the audience might just remind, like say, oh, you stopped at a supermarket. And then maybe they were like, okay, got it. Then it's a cue. Then they will continue. Then some they might move back to their old jokes to like, okay, let's go back to a safety net. Maybe I might remember that particular thing that I lost, and I will come back. And some they just confess, like, I'm sorry, people, I just forgot what I wanted to say, and maybe they start crowd working, talk to other audience, and finally, I remembered, and they come back. But the worst thing you don't want to do is to just panic, like, I cannot remember anything. Oh no, yeah. So you don't want to like break down. Of course, it is. I mean, comedy is also an art form where you can be vulnerable, but you don't want to be like sad vulnerable. I mean, it's okay if you are like funny vulnerable, but not the one where you are panic and upset, because that will actually make the audience like quite uncomfortable. But the best thing is sometimes what I do, if I'm really afraid of forgetting, totally blanking out, I always have like a tiny post-it note, and at least in case anything do happen, I'll just take that out and just like, okay, like, oh, okay, now I know. Then you move on. Like in all situations, just proceed calmly. Yeah, because your audience just want you to have a good time. They don't want you to like struggle. I've also seen comedians spiral on stage whereby they become depressed, like because their joke didn't work, or either they forget stuff, they start, oh my God, you all don't understand my joke. I should not have quit my day job. They will start spiraling, and it's hilarious for the room. I mean, okay, but also at the same time, like they can't laugh because they are already like, oh my goodness, like, is this person mentally stable? Like already spiraling on stage, and it's quite scary. So I think being calm, it helps no matter what. And the second question is, how do you pick up energy? In a comedy show, the comedy show already start when the audience walk in. That means even before the hosts go up on stage and start telling their jokes, like say, hey, welcome everybody. Before that, already the show starts when the door is open and the audience start walking in. So that's when the comedians can start observing, like, okay, this looks like a young Gen Z crowd. What kind of jokes can I do? And okay, this one looks like more I would say people are like who are like my parents. Okay, let's not do R-rated jokes, So you have to observe all this immediately. And also you say, oh, this one expats. All right, let's just see what kind of international jokes we can do that are not using Malay punchlines. Don't use Malay punchlines for an expat audience. They won't understand. And also you can observe, oh, okay, so these are the people we have, and then this is just at a glance. And after that, when the host goes up on stage, they will do most of the crowd working. That's where they will say, hey, where are you from? How do you know about this show? They will start like engaging. And that's when we as the comedians who are watching from the sideline, waiting for our turn, we can take notes. We can like, okay, so this is what we can do. And then your first sacrificial lamb is the opening act. So your opening act will go up there and tell their jokes. So you will know from the reaction, like what kind of audience, what are the jokes the audience like. Okay, they don't like jokes where you punch down on mothers. Okay, don't talk bad about moms. Like, okay, don't talk bad about this, don't talk bad about that. Oh, they love dating. Do more of the dating jokes. So you can observe as a comedian. So the mistake that a comedian makes when they actually like perform is some of them, they will go out and have a drink or take a smoke. So this is a terrible mistake because you miss out the opportunity to assess the audience and also what kind of materials work and not work. So the thing is, you don't want to miss out on that. And the worst thing is, you are repeating what the comedian before you has said. Like, let's say they observe something about the audience or the venue, they already mentioned that, but because you are not in the room previously, you will say the same thing again. And the audience will be like, this person, I caught ya, so it will be quite embarrassing as well. So stand-up is an art where you are not just talking, you are also doing a lot of observation and also understanding. So yeah, that's all. Thank you, Mike. Great question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'd
Yay.
like to go for one more from the audience, if there any. Looks like there's none. If there's none, we'll say thank you to our speaker, Juliana. And before that, we'd like to present a certificate of
Stop
appreciation.
share screen first.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so yes. So it's
Yeah.
not all about me.
Yeah. So we'd like to present a certificate of appreciation to our speaker, Juliana. President.
All right, give me a second. Let me
Yeah.
share screen. Where's share screen? I'm sorry, give me a second.
Okay, slowly take your time. Now we want to put a love emoji to our speaker, Juliana, for delivering such a wonderful
Yay.
session and sharing about sometimes in how challenge and how should we handle in
Thank you
situations
so
during the
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there's
First,
someone who has